made a good point too about like control. I think change and control, at least the willingness and happiness for change, at least with control. And, just I think if just through parenting and the, careers and everything else, change is scary when there's a lack of control.
Mm.
Like, my oldest just graduated high school and he's going off for the first time. Like that change is scary because I'm losing a little bit of control. Like you start to lose a little bit of that control,
Mm-hmm.
when I get laid off, it's like, well, wait,
Yeah.
I had no control over that
Mm-hmm.
particular situation. So I think when, at least for me, when I don't have any control of the change, it's really, really scary.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
I made a huge career change, as you guys all know, quite a number of years ago. But it's funny because it's what you're talking about, Tara. It was a total combination of the controlled and the uncontrolled. So the change was a controlled change. I anticipated it for a long time. I planned for it for a long time. It was still scary, but honestly, my husband was more confident about the change than I was, and that gave me a lot of security that I didn't have for myself. His confidence was inspiring. So I did it. And I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I have to find another job, right? So I did it. But what I didn't see coming was opening our first physical spot 2 weeks before the COVID shutdown. Yeah.
Mhm.
So a very controlled decision that was followed by complete and utter chaos. But I will say the only thing comforting about that chaos is that the whole world was in on it with me. So I certainly wasn't alone, but it was one of the scariest things because we both had at that point left our jobs, had no consistent income other than what we could produce for ourselves. And we had two school age children at the time and literally had no job, no income, like in a matter of, from one day to the next. So that was a great example of controlled and uncontrolled all at the same time. So, but what did we do? I mean, we just totally brainstormed. We talked to everyone we knew. We gathered ideas and we pivoted and we figured it out. And we're here to tell about it. We still have the business. It looks a little different than it did then. But yeah, total chaos. But
Do you look back at that and are you thankful for all that change? Because your life would, if that
yeah,
hadn't happened, your life would be totally different now.
yeah. And it's like Tara said, you have to be, in hindsight, you're thankful for everything that happened because it puts you where you are. Um, it pushed us in different ways. We met different people because of the situation, and some of those people we met helped kind of shape our business as it is today. And I think what we're doing now is probably more enjoyable to us than what we would have been doing without those opportunities. So yeah, I mean, there was definitely a silver lining for us. But it's funny because when you brought up this topic of change, I thought of the discussion going this way, but then I also paralleled it with what we talk about a lot with our bodies and changes. And
mhm.
so changes physically for us, changes physically for, I think, our parents, we talk a lot about. So we're just in the throes of all of this change, whether it be our kids, our health, our jobs, our parents. It's just, there's so much. And I think,
Yeah.
talking about it makes it easier to handle because you realize that everyone's got their version of this change happening,
Mhm.
and you figure out ways to cope with. And sometimes the coping is just talking about it. So it's
Correct.
so helpful. But yeah.
And I've worked for a couple of like very fast growing companies, startups, I guess you would say. And one of them, there we had kind of had a saying, and the only constant was change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because when you're working at a growth, like hyper growth startup, that's just your reality. Every day
Mm-hmm.
something's changing. And I think that holds true to what you just said, Colleen. I think
Yeah.
that that's life in general. And
Mm-hmm.
I think when, we brought up this topic, I think for like personally, if I think about it like right now, change feels a little heavy. But
Mm-hmm.
if you think back, 5 years ago, it probably felt heavy for different reasons then. I mean, I do think it's kind of constant and it's just kind of how we embrace it. you know, along the way.
I honestly think one of the most attractive qualities in other people is resiliency. You can get so bogged down in what life throws at you and what life gives to you, and how you handle that, to me. And you know, it doesn't always have to be with grace, because sometimes chaos doesn't produce grace, but what you are in the aftermath of that, to me, just speaks to people's character. And I love reading stories about resiliency and seeing how people in their daily lives, I love the word pivot, but I use it too much. How people can change and adapt, and what they become because of all of those things. Like Erin, your story, holy crap! I mean, there's nothing that compares to that. What you've had to go through, and Lisa, your health challenges, and Tara, your job challenges, and I mean, we've all been through it, just in different ways. But you guys are all so resilient, and I think that's what draws me back to you guys all the time. Is you're inspiring, and that's what I look for in people. So I think that our listeners need to be reminded what you guys all have to offer by way of conversation and inspiration. It's amazing.
I feel like the key to it is because to your point, Tara, it is inevitable. Change is inevitable, and if you think of it as like, you're riding along on a stream, right? What do they always say? Like, if you're caught in the rapids, don't fight it. Don't, that's how you drown. You have to relax and you have to flow with it. And I know, speaking for myself, at times when I've been faced with the challenges of change, the more I resist it, the more I fight it, the harder it is on every level, versus just trusting that we're on this path. And, I'm someone who does subscribe to that. Like, I'm here to face challenges and learn and grow from it. And, I just like trust the path, and it'll work out. And knock on wood, so far it has. And it's interesting because maybe it's not the way that you expected that it would, but then in hindsight, as we said before, you look back and you're like, oh, okay, well, if that hadn't happened the way it did, it wouldn't have led me to this, which led me to that, which led me here,
Right. And those are the lessons that we try to, I think those of us who are parents try to teach our children. And it's a really tough lesson for them, because in their drama and in their moment, that doesn't make any sense to them. It doesn't resonate at all. Just as teenagers or young adults, I mean, the hard stuff is so hard, they can't understand that that's part of the process, or that it will resolve, or it will lead to a different circumstance. So it's really hard to watch our kids go through that, but they all do.
And that can sometimes apply too if you're managing people at work, especially younger people. I think being in that position where you're kind of trying to mentor people, and they're looking to you for wisdom, as now we're the elders, so they look at us as the
or Lisa, you as a teacher. Holy crap! I can't imagine having a room full of 20 of these people.
Yeah. What do you teach your students about handling change?
I always teach them, just keep asking questions. Just keep, like, you're never going to know if someone will help you with something unless you ask. What's the worst somebody can say is no. So I try to let them see me struggle. I know it's different than being a parent. Your kids are going to see you all the time. They're going to be a part of that change for you. And my kids see me during the hours of school, but I like to let them know that, like, I still don't have it figured out. Like, I'm almost 50 and I still have questions, and I still have hard things, and I still have changes. So the more you can surround yourself with people, good people, then hopefully they pick up on those things. I think it's more of what you show than what you say.
You said that it's not the same as being a parent, but I will tell you, and Megan, like, the children that you have in your families or those around you, I think you guys play way more of an important role than you think. Our kids don't necessarily want to listen to their parents all the time. So those other adults in their lives tend to be extremely valuable too. So don't discount that, for sure.
We get to be the cool
Yeah.
aunties.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. They might actually listen to you.
I
This
can
kind of
I can
actually
remember
runs.
being that age.
Oh, exactly.
You know, like it was hard to take advice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Parents were the last people you wanted to take it from.
Right.
Yeah, you know everything.
Yeah.
So, and everybody else is wrong.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Undeveloped
this
brain.
wraps up my day like perfectly. I started listening to these like 5 minute little like motivations in the morning just to kind of like, mindfulness and, trying to embrace the challenge, Lisa. So I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier when we started talking about this topic, but the practice today was on freedom and permanence. And it had a lot to do with kind of like understanding the impact of attachment and change in our lives and techniques for letting go of attachment and fostering emotional resilience,
Wow.
exploring impermanence as a tool to finding joy, gratitude, and inner peace. So I just, and one of the visualizations they had today, Erin, was kind of like that stream. And you can either flow along with the stream or you can fight the current the other direction the entire time. Like those are kind of your choices. And then, obviously they talked a little bit about resilience calling too. So this conversation relates back to 5:30 this morning when I listened to my little motivation.